go. Welcome back. It's been a while. I've been marinating and being seasoned and taking a moment to just really find what makes me feel my happiest. As a Palestinian woman, there's been so many ups and downs that we've experienced over the past year, over the past few decades. And I really needed to find myself and who I was in that space. And here we are. I am ready. We are rocking. You're getting videos. You got a whole studio because it's straight goddess energy. So if you're here and you're tuning in after every single episode, I'm going to make you feel like you can take over any area of your world that you're looking to tap into. So are you ready? Let's go.
Let's go.
I am so excited to introduce my beautiful, what do I call you? Like, I just feel like you came around in a time in my life where I didn't know nothing. I was just like, what's next? But I will say, I used to call her Soul, and then she corrected me, so it's Sole.
Soleil.
Tell me, Sole, who are you?
I am a seeker, if you will. You know, I think I've built my platform and figured out my work just by way of my own understanding and seeking my own awakening. I was blessed at the start of my journey with a mother who got it, and she, I think, is like such the framework of why I am who I am. And her mission ultimately was to, according to her, facilitate the awakening of humanity. And she just sort of gifted me that mission. And, I kind of ran with it. And it's been a crazy journey. And, I think that there are many of us kind of right now on the planet who are awakening to our own very specific, unique mission. We were talking about this last night, actually. And it's interesting because it doesn't look one way. And so I think society has wanted to sort of put humanity in a particular small box thus far. And it's easier to understand many if we put them all in one box. And what's happening right now is we're busting out of the box. And so for myself, it has been very much that, I started off going to college and kind of the normal route, thinking I was going to do therapy, and then started off as a counselor, and then just started asking sort of the fundamental existential questions about why we're here and why there's so much unhappiness and why we aren't kind of at a higher tier as people just yet. And the answers came through my own experience. I actually sold everything, sort of typical, sold everything, lived out of a suitcase for a very long time, and just tapped out, basically no social medias, no nothing, hardly had a cell phone for 5 to 6 pretty solid years. And that took me through myself. And so now all of my work and everything that I do mostly comes by way of just what I have figured out for myself. And I hope that it helps other people, and I think that that's what's happening right now. There's this sort of wave of disruptors, if you will. I know I call you a disruptor a lot because you have that same, just we're not here to kind of people please or fit the norm. In fact, we're actually here to kind of disrupt the norm, because the norm isn't working. It hasn't worked for a very long time. And the norm is absent mostly of true womanhood, divine womanhood. I love the term divine women, and I talk about that a lot in my work because we're reclaiming, I think, what it means to even be women. And that's a lot of the work that we do together and individually, and what our shared and collective mission is, to sort of reclaim womanhood in a different way. Yeah. So a lot of my journey has been about that, doing that for myself, and then helping others do that and figuring this thing out. But also, as you mentioned to start, just having fun and living a totally different, not as
No, we're just turning the fuck up.
Turning it up. That's all we're doing. I mean,
we are turning the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was, like I said, this past year was very traumatic in a certain sense and way. And when everything first happened, because there's a podcast currently where I'm literally crying when everything first happened in Palestine, and I didn't know how to react to what was happening. So I just started consuming all of these graphic images and videos, and I felt like I owed it to my mother, my father, who are no longer here, to just kind of be that voice for a little bit. But then what started happening was I started becoming really depressed, and I started having kind of like a form of like PTSD, and was just like unsure. And I've never dabbled in any type of like pharmaceuticals or taking, any kind of meds, but I was really broken. And I think I was trying to be an activist, but I'm not an activist. I'm not built for that. Shout out to all the amazing, activists out there like
Absolutely.
Janine Martini and, Sean King and everyone that kind of dedicates their life to great causes, not just Palestine, but Black lives, anything,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So for me, it was like, oh my goodness, my grandson just walked into the studio,
Woo! Shout
and
out to the
shout out to my
grandson.
grandson who is here in the studio. I love you so much.
Oh.
Um, so we, I was really depressed, Soleil, like, and I kept seeing Soleil pop up on my timeline, and all of her quotes were related to goddess energy and like owning your power and realizing who you are and your worth and your purpose. And I just like gravitated toward her, but at the same time, I felt out of it. And mentally, I was not committing to any projects. I was just done. So I decided to dabble in pharmaceuticals. And currently I'm on antidepressants as well as mood stabilizers. And I want to be really raw and real. They changed my life. That, in conjunction with reaching out to Soleil, and she was selling her packages. And I remember her prices. I looked at her price and I was like, man, this is going to be like an actual investment, right? And then I was like, wait, but you charge the same amount an hour. So like if you're trying to get goddess energy, you're going to pay goddess prices. And that's where I kind of like reached out to you and expressed. And what I love is like you welcomed me in a way that was like, I'm here. I'm here to meet you where you are. Let's package this up. Let's get it going, because you did see me as this like disruptor, and you saw me as this like you saw what I couldn't see, in those moments. So when you're working with people, right? Because I think you kind of like hit social media with the quotes, and the quotes started taking off, and then people are like, wait, who's Soleil? And I think you're also like really hidden online. Like we see you here and there, but it's more of the message, and it's more of making sure that that's connected. So when you start working with a woman or a person, do you have specific like feels? Like do you feel nudged? Do you feel called? Have you ever been approached by someone and you were like, no, I just like I can't work. It's just not for me. Yeah, talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I would say that, both in my work and just in my life in general, I try to keep full alignment. And alignment is an intuitive understanding, right? So it's like only you really know. And we're not always perfect, of course, but I'm committed to alignment. And the truth is, I'm not for everyone, and everyone is not for me. And sometimes it is up to me to make that judgment call. The most, I would say, in particular, the ones that I usually will say no to are like men who I feel like are coming to see me to try to actually get at me, and it's just not the right way to do that.
Yeah.
That's
Shout out to all the men. That's a whole nother topic.
we'll do that
Yeah.
for just the second podcast. But aside from that, for the most part, I do receive, and I work with so many different people of so many different backgrounds and shapes and sizes and ages and demographics and all of it. And I love that
Yeah.
so much, because the inner work is not for one person, it's for everybody. People always ask me, who's my demographic? And I was like, I really don't know. I don't feel like I have a demographic, because I feel like I can reach everybody. And I don't think there's any age where you get done. In fact, that was one of my mom's sort of final teachings, because she died in 2016. And as she, like, in the final 2 weeks, she's like still downloading all the information and finding all the hidden gems of like the process of death, which of course is a whole different conversation. But witnessing her still evolve till the very last day was just like, just the ultimate understanding that we're never done. It
Because
doesn't matter.
life is a gift. Life is
It's
a
a gift.
gift.
It's a gift, and
Each
it's an ever
moment.
evolving, ever shifting, ever changing. So if you're resisting change, you're actually resisting life itself, because life is always changing. We're always changing physically,
I think
energetically.
it takes experience to realize that. It's really,
It's true.
as a 46-year-old woman change used to scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But now I think one of the biggest things that I took away from our work together was the ability to just breathe,
Mm. Yeah.
to just like always take it back to the breath,
Mm.
to always remind myself of who I am. I learned so much this past year about myself as a Virgo woman, as a Palestinian woman, but also as a healed woman. Like the gift of happiness is real. It's like so real, but it really did not take me to feel it until I learned more about myself. I learned what I needed because as a, someone that's been mentally, physically, emotionally abused their entire life, my mom, her grandmother, like just generational, the body keeps score.
100%.
And you can meditate till you turn blue. But what the pharmaceuticals did for me, which I had such a big fear of, because when my mom died, it was linked to so many different things that were on the market. What I realized is that whatever you fear, jump at it. Jump at it. Because everything I've ever feared has turned out to be some of the biggest lessons of my life.
Yeah.
So I want to go into the retreat. I went to a retreat. And by the way, I'm dating right now. Like I have this like full rasta, and I'm just.
It's true. She does.
I'm just
Can confirm.
dating. Yeah. I've never done this. I've never like dated. I've always like been in relationships. I mean, like I lost my virginity when I was 19, going on 20. Got pregnant 6 months later. Been a mom ever since. But now my kids are grown, so my grown kids can take care of Leilani for me, and I'm outside. But I learned that I have this like anxious attachment style. And it's not just with guys I'm dating, overall. Emails that don't get responded, business texts that don't get responded. I get this high level of anxiety. And I'm still trying to understand it. Like, because it's just like, well, I guess first up is accountability.
Major key in every way, and that's like the ultimate key to me. And to your credit, you're very good at that, because the fact that you're even sharing this on a podcast, like kudos to you, because a lot of people have various attachment styles that you don't talk about. It's easy to stay polished. It's less easy to be vulnerable and real.
Oh no, this isn't like empower you, baby. Raw and real.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But yes, I yeah.
So for me, it's like you threw this like 20-year-old girl in a dating pool, and I'm just now experiencing like what I like, what I don't like, what I'm willing to tolerate, what I'm not willing to tolerate. But it's still this like anxious attachment with everything.
Yeah.
Give us some advice.
It's funny because you just mentioned two things that I will take through this process with you. And the process is alchemy. Ultimately, it's becoming an alchemist of your own reality. And so two things, fear, you mentioned, and then anxiety, two things where they're both just energetic states. Ultimately, fear is an energetic state and anxiety is an energetic state. So what you understand, you start to see it sort of like alchemically or energetically, if you will, that they're states that you can shift. It's actually really powerful energy. Like fear can be overwhelming. It sometimes can take you over. But if you imagine the magnitude of that energy, can you use it in your favor? Anxiety, can you use it in your favor? So the alchemical process then is to go from this overwhelming state of anxiety to, okay, where can I channel this and alchemize it into something that's going to actually be beneficial? We know about channeling energy, and it's kind of a buzz phrase, if you will, but people aren't really totally understanding what that means. But I work with a lot of creatives and people who often will go on stage. And a lot of people who have the crippling anxiety right before they go on stage. So what I train them to do, and what you can train yourself to do, is channel it, because then it takes the power away. It's no longer this big bad wolf.
Yeah, like I talk to my anxiety like a bitch. I'm
Absolutely.
Like, yo, bitch, what are you doing here? Like, what is the problem right now?
Literally. And then it's like, okay,
do I have to go outside? Like,
what do you need to do? Yeah, probably to just maybe soften it, and again to just release the hold, because when
soften it, like I'm too aggressive with it. Like
no, just that it feels so like overpowering in the moment that it's like you just feel crippled by it. So to soften it and make it like laugh at it, I love that you kind of laugh at it, because it's like just takes the power away. And then okay, instead of channeling this energy into maybe neediness in a relationship, how can I maybe use it creatively, or how can I run a bag with it or do something else with it that's going to be actually beneficial versus letting it express itself in a way that's, the lower vibrational form of it, if you will. So you're just, the alchemy of it is like building the energetics around it into something that's actually helpful from something that's detrimental or not helpful. And that sounds easy, and it's not, but it's one little step at a time. The fact that you even are aware of it, 2 can name it, 3 can laugh at it, 4 can like ask what to do with it. You're already boom, 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 boom. It is
literally,
but
gets on my nerves.
It's actually one day it's going to be like, actually, it's my superpower. I'll wait for the day you're going to call me up and be like, so Leia, you said it and it's true. I'm calling it right now. You're going to channel it. You're going to find a way to channel it so it actually helps you, because it's a surge of energy. It is a surge of energy.
And I'm so passionate.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking, it's like, if I'm passionate about the conversation, I might tear up. Like, I get so, like, my whole body is in it. Like to have me on your side, you have such a gift.
I feel that.
And but don't fucking cross me.
Right. There's 2 sides.
It's the Virgo. Like, don't cross a Virgo. Do not cross a Virgo.
He's not wrong. And again, it's all about self-understanding, right? Because when you know yourself, knowing yourself is the foundation of all understanding. And I will always reiterate that, because when you know yourself and you know how you operate, it's again, this kind of like, you can sort of overstand yourself. So, okay, this is happening right now, or why is my mind thinking this right now? You're actually aware. You have this certain level of self-awareness that is super helpful, not only for yourself, but for others. Because when you're not self-aware, you end up acting crazy, and other people are like, why are you doing that? And you're like, I didn't do that. And you literally did do that. We know people who are that way because they just lack self-awareness. So self-awareness bridges the gap between you and reality, and specifically how you're operating in that reality. And a lot of people don't even have that. So I those of us who do the work, I think, don't always even give ourselves the credit that we are very much so evolving humanity through our own evolution and waking humanity up through our own awakening. But it's freaking hard, and it's confusing, and it's like, what's happening? And it's like you're starting to pick yourself apart, and then you have these ego deaths and these dark nights of the souls, and it's like everything doesn't make sense anymore.
And then you go to premenopause, and then like one day you wake up and the wrath of the whole life is like upside down. Like, it's not always peaches and cream. So for all those people that act like they walk around happy, they're fucking lying. It's not.
Can confirm.
You have to experience your anger. You have to experience your sadness. You have to create boundaries. You have to I say the most blessed people in my life right now of my daughters, Jazlynn and Leilani, they are probably the only 2 that get me unconditionally, no matter what, no matter what they do, no matter how we have to like deal with it, they get me unconditionally, because at the end of the day, like, I always used to say, like, having kids is such a great thing. And then now I have adult kids, and adult kids is a much, Lord, to the mama bears out there that have adult kids, you know what I'm talking about. It's a whole different beast. So it's like, as women, we go through all these different seasons and reasons and lifetime. And I'm writing a book right now, which is pretty insane. I'm kind of like a Palestinian gangster from Brooklyn.
Yes.
And that really has been resonating with me as I write this book. I can't believe where I am today. Like, I cannot, like, I should have been in jail or dead or in the gutter somewhere, like, just touching on some of these points. But what I love is, as you take a step back, as you continue to choose you, as you step into healing with Soleil and getting with a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and as you continue to feed you, mind, body, and soul every single day, it's always going to be okay.
Yeah. It's the best thing you can do for anybody around you, too, because as you evolve yourself, everybody around you comes too. As you vibrate higher, you literally raise the energetic average of humanity. So people act like it's selfish. We're totally destabilizing the idea that the work is in any way selfish. Working on yourself is in any way selfish, because it is the number one thing you can literally do for anybody. and for all of us and for the whole collective. Because again, the whole idea is you're clearing out the density of the human experience. Like you said, the body keeps the score. The density in your body that you've been passed down from generations, and we all inherited generational density from our lineages. And so the work that we're doing is not only just for us in this lifetime, it's like for our whole line that we've come from. It's from everybody. It's the pain that they never felt that we're willing to feel, where it's going to stop here because we're going to show up lighter and brighter and a higher vibration. Like that's really how it goes. We're doing it for everybody.
I've never met a lighter and brighter Palestinian.
Wow.
I feel like the trauma, and even Israelis and Jewish people, like I feel like our trauma is so deep rooted that it's if you don't do some heavy, serious work. Like I have a friend that's in Gaza. He's a nurse. He's 32 years old. He's still in Gaza. I tell him all the time, I'm like, how are you ever gonna like heal from like the stuff that you've experienced? Yeah. Because at the or the Israeli soldiers that have to fight, they have to go into, at a certain age, they have no choice. They have to just go and kill people for a living. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it's like based on where you're from, your cultural background can really take a toll on your generations, the generations before that, your ancestors. So it's just it's always, I think, just such a continuous work, which is why I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Like, that's the healing.
I just want to have fun. Mm-hmm. If I want to turn up, I'm going to turn up.
Why would you not?
If I want to have sex, I'm going to have sex.
Why would you not?
Matthew, don't look at me like that, Matthew. Ben. Of course, like Matthew, Ben, we're calling him like all different types of names.
Go down the roster.
Oh, I'm thinking of my Rasta. Okay. Shout out to my Rasta. No, but let's talk about that. Women feel like they should be living this narrow-minded road of, I'm in this marriage, I'm comfortable, I hate my life, it's okay, I'm here. This is my life. Mm-hmm. I think the idea for a lot of women too is that, I'm gonna be called a hoe if I date multiple guys. Yeah. And I think the need to always look good in front of other people has always been such a staple in women's minds. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do I, wear this facade, or how do I put this mask on to fit into all these different situations? And if you know me, I have no fucking masks.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And I've never been happier. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I hung that up, and I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah.
I literally just booked a trip to New York this weekend spontaneously with my daughters, and we're going skiing.
What?
Like, just because what's more important than memories? I mean, I'm going to return the Louis Vuitton shoes that I bought.
Good. That's good.
Because they're kind of ugly. But memories and travel. Yeah, so I'm rambling. But why is it so important for women to do what makes them happy? And how do they really figure out what makes them happy?
I think it's always going to come back to me, just to doing the work, to clearing, because there's an intuitive knowing that I think women actually are led by, but because society has quieted and packed it down and shut it down for so long, that so many women are disconnected from their own intuitive knowing. And because, having fun and living your life is going to look different for everybody. And I think that's the beautiful part of it. I think, as you mentioned, women have so far worn a certain mask as a way to keep appearances. And it's sort of like the light feminine, if you will. And it's what women have mastered so far, is being sort of in the light feminine, and like you've said, in the appearance of things, and trying not to be too disruptive, and being pleasant and graceful, and carrying those codes, which is one half of femininity, absolutely. But what's awakening on the planet, and I think many of us who consider...
We had this conversation last night with two strangers.
Did. You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
The dark feminine. Because
Quantum.
The dark feminine... Oh, true. That too. That's a whole different... that's the whole spectrum of it. Because the feminine is... femininity is multidimensional. It's not one thing. And so the picture we've painted with the broad brush of it being light and airy and grace and peaceful and easy, and she's, like people pleasing, that's great. It works. That's 50% of it. Awesome. Now we're going to just unveil the other 50% who is the dark feminine. It's the sexual goddess. It's the Kali Ma with the one head in her hand and her foot on somebody else's neck.
And I don't know if you 40-year-old women out there, like I'm 46, something's happened to your vagina at this age. We're keeping it like raw and real. Like she's on fire all the time. Like I'm like you walk around and I'm like tick 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 tick. But I'm not gonna lie about it. Like I'm gonna I want you to know that your 40s are probably some of the best orgasms you're ever gonna have.
Wow, nice. Look forward to it.
I mean, like raw and real, baby. Like I want you women to enjoy life. And I think culturally, as a Palestinian woman, I was always like so against this idea of being sexual, being, talking about it so loudly and proudly, exploring, experimenting. And I think, how are you supposed to know who you want to spend the rest of your life with, right? Well, we'll intertwine it with dating a little bit, right?
Yeah.
If you don't experience.
Yeah. So true.
Tell me about your dating life.
I've always been very strict with myself, and mostly because I'm so energetically sensitive that it's an L for me if I'm not that way, and it's not an appearance. It's just that it's how I need to move to keep my level. But I date. I definitely go on dates. I enjoy dating. And
I'm not sexual with everyone
exactly,
that I
right.
date,
And that's the thing. And I think that's even where we need to collapse that idea that like you need to have sex with everybody that you're dating, because
I actually can't really.
I mean, we know
sex more than more than one guy that I'm dating. But then I feel like if your time is done, then we're just removing you from the roster, and we're moving along.
Moving along.
Rory, I'm gonna listen back to this. Like, okay, Randa, you just like gave them the whole
give them the sauce, the recipe,
the saucy sauce.
No, but it's true, and that's why it's like you're clear, because you're releasing, you're letting go. This is just the truth. This is the objective truth. And I think the thing is, and the truth is, a lot of women actually struggle with objective truth, which is can often be the battle between men and women, because men are often more objectively true. Do I look fat in this dress? Well, you do. And then, but like, bro, you literally asked, and then he was honest, and now you're mad, because women struggle with objective reality at times. So the more you can just be objectively real, and that's what you are, you just speak the truth consistently, whether you're sitting here or at the dinner table.
I can be so like masculine and aggressive, and I want to take that off.
I feel that. I think that's
take it, please. Take it.
And it is interesting because, and I think that's where, the reclamation of the goddess is that we are both in our own masculine and feminine frames. Yeah. Especially in the business world, because we're both business women, and the business drive is the masculine drive. It just is what it is. Yeah. Until you start to weave in what you might consider like law of assumption, or just the magnetism of the woman. So instead of, I feel like I should be doing something because I need to make money, I'm going to just sit back and receive energetically. And so you can actually use meditative practices and energetic practices to call money towards you. And that's been my major shift this year. I've been supporting myself since I was 17. So I'm like so equally tired of like carrying it all by myself. Yeah. And this year has been like, okay, how can I then just, if I'm still going to carry it by myself, how can I at least make it a little lighter and easier and more fun, and like be a woman about it, instead of just being so, drive.
Fun.
Like, exactly.
That's like the key. Yeah. Word. Like we went out last night and I had so much fun, and we really didn't even do anything. We just got off on like trying to figure out which restaurant we wanted to eat at.
That's right.
I was driving, so I couldn't really drink as much, and then we winded up having a great conversation with two guys that we met like at the bar, and they were successful businessmen that were on this like trip in Deerfield Beach. And it just goes back to life is filled with all of these different chapters, And each chapter allows you to move to the next chapter. But the knowledge that you take away from each of those chapters really shapes your life to where you're destined to be, because there's a plan. It's God's plan.
So
And
real.
and how you activate that plan is, when I'm doing this, how do I feel? When I'm talking in this mic, I'm turned on.
Yeah.
I'm passionate. I'm lighting up. It makes me feel so good when I'm traveling, when I'm speaking, when I'm, putting together a creative strategy or building a brand or an influencer marketing campaign. Like, so many people are always asking me, like, why don't you sell your company? Like, Socially Loud, why don't you sell it? And I'm like, why would I sell it? Like, I love what I do. The objective is not money.
Yeah.
The objective is walking in what you're most passionate about, and the money just comes. Sure. I've never seen as much money as I've seen in 2024.
Let's go. Yeah.
And I still know that there's still something, there's some blockage. Yeah. I feel it.
Yeah.
And I know that once I overcome that little blockage, which can be the cultural story I keep telling myself, the fear of, not wanting to be homeless, the fear of like not having it, the fear of, can I take care of my daughters? Can I still be the sole provider of everything? So I know once I master that one it's.
Yeah. I mean, you just said 3 times fear. So no matter what it is, whether it's this, or this fear, it's fear.
It's fear.
And that's the ultimate, that's what really broke me through this year as well, shifting from the masculine frame in business to more of the feminine frame of like releasing all resistance of like, am I going to be able to, pay my rent? Am I going to be able to X, Y, and Z? The fear, just clear that out, because it doesn't help, and it's actually feeds a reality.
I wish it was
that
like
you
a
don't
button
want.
that you
I mean,
could
it would
just
be great.
clear
Just
out.
Except that internally there kind of is. Like, you can laugh at the fact that you're going down this crazy rabbit hole that doesn't exist, because you've always been fine. You've always been covered. You've always had
good.
Everything that you need.
Like,
so
money sometimes literally falls from the sky.
I mean,
literally.
Seriously.
Yeah. Or we could just start an OnlyFans.
I think you might need to do it.
Okay, leave in the comments below if I should start an OnlyFans.
Yes, but it's true but interesting you say that, because let's be real here. If we're talking about the feminine and the masculine in business, and so if we, stereotype that to man and woman, the women who are making the most money on their own are probably the ones on OnlyFans, if we're being really honest, which makes you look at business in general, because then it makes you wonder, like, how, if OnlyFans is not for you, how as a woman can you make great money?
No, there's so much ways that you can make. OnlyFans is easy
without being in your masculine frame all the time, because that's the thing about OnlyFans, is it does in some capacity invite you into your feminine frame,
energy, your sexual,
absolutely,
feminine, goddess
it's pussy power.
Yeah,
like,
and
monetized.
Big vagina energy all day, baby.
BPE.
Yeah, big pussy energy all day, all day, all day.
So it's
She's not fat
that's
just
the
to be
that's
fat.
I think the revolution that's happening. Just to be fat.
PHAT. Q biggie. Can't you see? That's your words just hypnotize me.
But yeah, it's I think figuring out how women can be, so this kind of circles back to what you're talking about women, why are they unhappy in unhappy marriages? And it's almost like, because women so far has been, actually, if you research marriage, the very first marriage was all about a woman becoming the property of her man, being handed off by dad into becoming the property of her husband, and taking his last name and fitting into this nice little mold of him being his. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I love a man that says I'm his. Like, there's some nice little energy to that. But if we're gonna be realistic,
but don't say you want to take someone off the market and they're his just because you're trying to get laid.
That's different.
That's a whole nother story. Yeah.
F those guys. But so women were like kind of, again, we're breaking out of this mold of what we've been so far. And I have nothing against marriage. I think marriage is a beautiful thing, but I wonder how fulfilled most women in particular are in marriage because they're trying to fit, again, this mold that maybe doesn't fit anymore. And so then now what needs to happen is, okay, how can women just be completely self-sufficient? So they find that first. So then they find a man who's actually a vibrational match,
Yes.
an energetic match, a spiritual match, not just someone who can take care of them. They're kind of settling, but at least the guy can take care of you and you don't have any other way to make money. So it's the best way to go. And so, I think we're just we're evening out the playing field, and nobody knows how it's going to look. Every time I talk to God about it, the answer is always like, we're all figuring this out together, baby.
I don't feel in a relationship you should be controlled.
I don't like control either.
I think that if you are in a relationship, there should be no controlling. And also, our views on marriage is different. I want to be married. I want to, and that doesn't mean I want to be married in the courthouse. No. Taking those vows that you're committing.
You did say in the woods.
In the woods, barefoot with a joint. My matrons of honor will have weed plants in their stuff. Absolutely. Yeah, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But a partner.
Yeah.
Supporter.
Great. I think it sounds great. And,
a comforter.
And I have nothing against that.
Someone
that
can
would
give
be
me sex 5 times a day.
Maybe 6.
Maybe 7.
But my thing is, the more I've come to know myself, and now that I'm so solid, my standard is extremely high. It just is, because my life is so good. I am so happy.
But can I be real? I'm just now getting there because I went through this. I'm such a mama bear.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could fix everything. And I don't see men for their money. What I see is if you have ambition, you have goals, do you have things set up for yourself that is going to take you eventually to where you need to be? Yeah. Are you a good person? How are you with your parents? How are you with your kids if you have any? But at the end of the day, what for me, genuinely, can we be 2 people that spend the rest of their lives together? Can we communicate? Can we come together and have conversations without attacking each other? Can you make me softer? Not make me softer. I mean, maybe I'm using the wrong terms, but can you aid me in making sure that, okay, if I have an anxious attachment style and you know it, and checking in a few times is just going to ease, how can make the woman feel secure and safe and stop triggering, and no triggering. I think that if I find that would be cause for a great marriage.
Sounds great.
Sounds fucking great.
Sounds amazing.
But
so here's the question.
Hard to come by?
What do you think? Do you think people are, this is where I always get tripped up with marriage, is do I really think that someone is forever? That there's one person who's
just
going
want to be a goddess
all of that.
forever.
I would love a partner. I would love a life partner.
Okay.
That'd be amazing.
Okay.
I have nothing against that. I'm going to call that right down, cancel anything that says I don't want that.
Yeah.
But if I had married anybody I've ever met until this very day, they'd probably be a goner. Because I've grown so much and evolved so much that I look back at everybody I've dated and been like, dodge that bullet.
It's like my friend, though, that said yesterday, he said, what'd he say? He said, she is gorgeous, or something to the extent of she is beautiful, and I'm not enough for her.
And I believe that. And that's why I asked about her, because he seems completely satisfied in their 26-year marriage. It seemed almost as if I'm not enough for her. So I'm been like, what has she been doing for 26 years?
She probably caters to everything that because he just gave off that kind of
And the
energy.
truth is, many of us, and I think you and I are similar in this way, we love to cater. I'll cater to, I'll breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whatever you need, baby. It does not matter anything.
I cook it.
I love it. And it feels good. There's a benefit to that, to us. And so that piece is in place and it's okay. It then leverages over to submitting to a man and controlling. I think that there's a level of freedom that women still need to have so that
Absolutely.
we can be free
I don't think
to
I can
cater.
That's like saying I'm booking a trip.
Yeah.
So I have to be like, hey, can I go?
Yeah. Ask permission. Who you asking? Oh, look, baby. No, we don't ask
No,
permission.
hey, I'm going.
Yeah.
Would you like to come?
Sure. And the communication, open lines of transparency and communication are absolutely key. And it's fair for
Because I
them
just feel
to
like
want to know.
as adults, why are we asking permission?
Yeah, I can't imagine ever doing that again.
I think being mindful of extending the invitation, especially if
For
that's
sure.
someone that you love being around and that's your person. But I think regardless, go. You have to have a separate life.
Yeah.
You can't expect to be in this relationship and be with this person all the time.
Yeah.
I like distance. Like if I'm with you for 5-6 weeks and we go on multiple dates and I see you and yada yada yada, and then I don't see you for 4 weeks, I'm cool with that. Because we're out here working toward our goals and we're working toward the things that need to sustain us for the rest of our lives. The world is expensive. Inflation is at an all-time high, you know, and it's like, but I do believe there's people like us out there. There's men like us out there. I really do.
Yeah, I do too.
For the love of Soleil and for the love of Randa coming soon.com.
For the love of it.
For the love. So I'm gonna I would love to bring Jazzy. She's here for a minute. And I wanna talk a little bit about the work that you've done with both of us. And I think a lot of time parents realize that we get healed, but we don't really take the time to allow our daughters to step into that. So I want to start with Jazz introducing herself and sharing what it was like as a 19-year-old girl to work with Soleil, someone that's worked with your mom, because at the end of the day, like a lot of kids feel like, oh, if my mom did the work with them, I don't want, like, they're gonna, you know, it's like confidential. So tell me what it was like working. I know you're jumping into the conversation after we just finished talking about like sex and all this stuff, but what was it like for you?
At first I was super nervous.
Well, tell, who are you?
Oh, hi, I'm Jazlynn. I'm her daughter, Randa.
You could just look at us.
And oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not used to all
Yeah,
this.
no. Yeah, me either. You have to show me.
I like just want to look at myself right but I just well, first my mom gifted me the 2 sessions. I wasn't like really like, oh, like who is Soleil? Let's do it. But I was open to it because I heard a lot that my mom was talking about, like about the sessions and stuff. And so I was like, okay, like, and I'm very open-minded, so I was like, okay, let's give it a try. Like, why not? And so I was nervous at first, just like how I am anytime I like talk to a therapist or a life coach at first. Like, it's just always nerve-wracking. And also you don't know if you're gonna like vibe with them or like, you know. And so when I went into it, it was actually good. It felt easy to like, you know, express my emotions and talk about the things that I was like upset about, and it all just kept flowing. And then by the end of it, you just look at the time and it's done. And then that's really it. Like, it just went really well. And by the second session, we were able to like, you know, end on good terms on some things, and like I learned some things, and yeah, it was good.
Amazing.
What was your experience like? Like, have you ever worked with someone that young? Like, do you work with, you know, teenagers? Because I feel like 19, between the ages of like 15 to 25, are some of the most challenging years, not just for kids, but for their parents as well. So do you take on that?
I do, you know, kind of as I mentioned earlier, like I've worked probably like one of my friends' kids, I worked with them. The youngest I think is, gosh, like 9. And it's interesting, you know, because you certainly, I mean, always and in any way and anything you do, you meet someone where they are, right? And so that's like my ultimate goal is like, I have no expectation of how this is going to go. I'm just here to support you right where you are in your journey. And first I'm going to try to figure out where that is, because then that helps me kind of put it into context and then just meet you right there. Because, you know, I have no preference and I have no judgment. I have no expectation. And my work is just to be the safe space where someone can like, you know, because once you offer a container for someone to step into and to start to clear and heal themselves, anything can come up. You know, I've seen it all at this point. And so, you know, at any age, it's going to be any number of things. And, you know, we worked a lot with like, say, relationships and stuff. And
we did.
And it, you know, I think that makes sense because I think at that age, you're sort of, it's one relationships, I mean, at all ages, but specifically at that age, relationships are one way that you're learning about yourself. It's a really beautiful mirror.
And then it's just, you're so young. At 19, I was so insecure And I feel like it's so important. You know, a lot of times we're like, oh, our kids should have great grades and all of the things, the what looks good on the outside. But one of the best things that you can give your kids is the gift of confidence. The gift of confidence, the gift of knowing their value and their worth. And when you are in a relationship so young, you're with a partner that is not experienced either mentally. And if you don't kind of like be that guardian and say, hey, I think you can benefit from this. And I think you and your boyfriend should do a session. Because again, we go back to insecurity and thinking you have to control, you know, these different roles in relationship, and, you know, your clothes should be a certain way and you shouldn't be too prerogative. And, you know, these are all things that younger relationships go through. Yeah. And women love that. Some women love that. They look at it as like a form of love.
They like the toxicity.
Yeah, the toxicity of it all and situationships and all that young generation. What would you say from a young generation's perspective, like girls your age, how is the dating world?
Probably a lot different than it was back then. Like it's definitely like all boys want now is just like what they want, like sex, and like that's the only thing they care about. Most of the time when they get it, like it's done. But also men these days don't, I feel like the generation that at least you guys had, parents weren't like big on like raising their kids having to know like how to treat a woman in a relationship, especially since like a lot of kids didn't grow up with like stable parents,
Moms
like,
and dads.
yeah, mom and dad, like role models to see that. And so at least most of the things that I've seen, the people that are having problems in relationships are the people that didn't have like a good marriage or good like parents to watch, you know, how to treat each other. But yeah, the dating industry right now is definitely not the best. Yeah, definitely washed up.
I literally give her my phone to respond to text sometimes because she's like, Mom, are you sending paragraphs? What are you doing?
Yeah, like I feel like it sucks now because now it's like you can't put too much attention, but you can't do too little. And
no,
like,
literally, she tells me that I can't call, I can't text. Like,
no, it's just that you just can't be too hands-on sometimes. Sometimes you have to like overthink.
but doesn't that suck? Like, so if you're
point.
feeling a person, you got to fall back.
It's not that. It's just that. Like,
no, I see you marinating. What are you gonna say?
I think it's in the middle of what you guys are saying because it's first of all, if you have to not move like naturally with someone, then there's already something there.
Right.
But also, if you're overdoing it, then it's for you to look at, because it's true that if you're texting someone all day, and especially if they're setting some form of a boundary or what have you, then they are asking you for a little bit more space. And if you can't offer them, then that's your stuff to look at. So it's all dependent on that. Like, you know, because I personally, you know, if anybody that I date right now, you know, I'll talk to them every few days. Maybe I don't need to talk to anybody every day, and frankly, I don't want to. So it's all about, it's different for every person. But I think there is, you know, an opportunity to always look at, like, again, if there's any of that neediness happening for anybody. I mean, anybody who has any form of that, because a lot of women do, it's very normal.
No, like literally, I just realized that with the situation that I'm in, just how needy I am.
Right.
So then it makes me want to like step back.
So I think that's what she's trying to like guide you through, right? Is like navigating it
you
as
just
like
can't try too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a question. Is it trying too hard, or is it being fed by this sort of undercurrent of anxious attachment or neediness that you have? So it's, which maybe it's
but
both.
Then you're not going to know if you don't go through the situation. So you kind of like, you know, I was celibate for 7 years and then stepped back into the dating world. And so I'm learning like all over again, like, and I'm so knowledgeable and experienced at this point that I'm able to be like, okay, this is happening. I need to adjust this, and not for anybody, but for myself.
Totally. And I think for a lot of women, it's also, and we sort of touched on this yesterday, like decentering men, because so many women are so men-centered. And while that's not a bad thing, because again, relationship is a beautiful thing, but if your entire reality forms around men, then you're jumping from man to man to man. All your girlfriends here is this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. And it's like, is there anything else going on? Like,
in your life, right?
You know, I don't even have a lot of friendships that are like that, because I'm so not that way. Most women will never hear about any guys that I date, because unless they actually matter.
I'm such a...
And it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. It can be fun to talk about it, especially when you're learning yourself through dating. So I get it. It's not to knock it. But for me, you know, whenever I have a friend who's like, constantly crying over the next new guy and then finding the next new guy and wants me to get excited over it. It's
crying.
like, you know, it's just like,
Yeah.
it can be tasking. It can be tasking for the guys too. So you have to look at, wow, there's like, I don't even have anything else going on. Not that you're not this way at all. You have a lot going on. So this is not about you. I'm just saying a lot of women who are fully men-centered and don't have any other like mission or you know, anything else happening. It's just like trying to find the next
I'm going to
guy.
find a basketball player, football player that's going to like take care of my whole life. No.
And so you're just draping that onto
I mean, no judgment.
No, it's not a judgment, but it's also like I feel like there's so much more to life than that.
Yeah, there is so much more.
Because relationships are fantastic. Men are great. I love men. I have nothing against men.
Yeah,
in terms of like dating, it's all good.
Yeah.
But men are not the center of my life. And they, you know, would you say there's a stick
seriously,
I mean, the truth is, I mean, when you're having regular good sex, it's a great thing.
Jazlynn. Sorry, Jazlynn.
Should I be here right now?
She's the only one in a relationship, so
I mean, you're the only one in a relationship, so I mean,
your input.
What would you say is important to you as a young 19-year-old girl stepping into her young adulthood in a relationship? Like, and why are you in a relationship so young?
Well, well, I never, like, this was, like, my first real relationship anyway. So, like, before this, it was just, like, situationships.
Situationships.
And, like, you know, like, random stuff. But, like, this one was, like, my first, like, actual relationship. So, it was, like, really hard in the beginning because I'm just a very, like, chill girlfriend. Like, I don't really care about, like, a lot of things. Like, I'm not, like, you can't go here, don't do this, what time, this and that. Like, I'm just not that kind of girlfriend. And usually the people that I get with are the opposite, and they're very, like, hands-on, and they're very, like, I'm not going to say controlling, but, like, it can feel like that sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that was probably, like, one of the hardest things that I had to deal with, like, and learn in a relationship. Because, like, we're complete opposites, so it's, like, it was hard to, like, which is one of the things that I would talk to Soleil about, but, yeah, that was probably the hardest thing, because I'm just super, like, laid back, and he's super, like...
I mean, he's Dominican.
You know?
And it is true, like, what they say, opposites attract, but actually, energetically, it is that you kind of...
No, shout out to the Dominicans. Don't, I don't want nobody coming for me. Like, I love my kids are half Dominican.
Nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong. We love Dominicans.
It's true.
Wait, let me lick my lip.
But, you know, energetically it is. And so it's funny because we, again, touched on this yesterday, like, anytime you understand your attachment style and yours that you're working through is anxious attachment, it is not uncommon that you would date someone then who was like avoidant or what have you, because, you know, complements, opposites attract in that way energetically. So where you lean in, you're going to attract in someone who's leaning out. And we talked on last night about, and the truth is that a lot of men are unavailable emotionally, energetically, and otherwise. Not all, certainly, but it's true that that's a thing. And a lot of the times
they just don't want to, like, they don't even want to date. Like, they just want to smash.
Exactly. That would be the very stereotypical unavailable man, you know. And it's, again, if that's where you're at, there's nothing wrong with that. Exactly. 100%.
But let the woman
just be real about it.
Decide.
Keep
like,
it real.
Stop selling dreams.
For
you
sure.
know, like, I think
For
the idea that you have to tell a woman what she wants to hear just to get laid is played out. Like, let that woman decide for herself if she just wants to have fun real quick. Yeah. Or if it's just not for her. Yeah. But I think that's taking her power away by feeding her nonsense just to get her to open up her legs for a one-time satisfaction, and let her decide if that's what she wants.
Yeah. Totally agree. It's corny.
So I know this podcast was a little bit all over the place, but I feel like with an empowered you, it's always going to be wherever we're called to speak. Yeah. The idea of having questions written before or, you know, a script has never been me. I feel like sometimes we're led to speak in areas that are just really important in that moment, and that's what people will get from us. I want you to tell people where they can find you. If someone wants to book a session with you, let them know.
Yeah, I would say my main platform is Twitter or X, but on all social media, I am at WithLoveSole, WithLoveSole.
And I'll put it all in the show notes too.
Amazing. And then through all of that, you can find my link tree where you can book a session or reach out to me, because it is true that I do have a certain rate for my work by way of,
Got to invest in
13
greatness.
years, 14 years deep in this.
Got to invest in greatness.
And that's part of what it is. You actually learn that in the teachings. Any healer or anybody who does the work in that capacity learns that what the rate that you set is what the person is investing in themselves, right? Because that's what literally it is we're working on oneself. And so you're giving them the opportunity to invest in themselves in that way. And a lot of people don't. In fact, it's usually not uncommon. It's the very last thing someone's going to spend money on is like themselves. They'll buy the Gucci shoes. They'll buy, like all the things. But then it's like, oh, I don't have the money to spend on myself, and it's fine, because that's, in our society, we still are learning the value of it. But when you learn it and you set yourself up at another tier and you do start doing the work, my work as a practitioner is always to empower my, the people that I work with to eventually not need me, right? I don't want to be, I'm not meant to be in your thing forever. Like,
Right.
I'm meant to be kind of a catalyst to set you off and give you the tools and the self-awareness to take it to the next level. And so that's always my aim in the work that I do. But yeah, with Love Soleil, I'm on YouTube, getting back on there, X, Instagram, and then all over the world, baby.
Ooh. It's a takeover, baby. Jazlynn, what are some things that you are empowered about for 2025? And what would you say to a young girl your age to keep her empowered?
I think something that I would say to someone my age to keep them empowered is keep going, don't give up. And I would say that these are going to be one of the hardest years of your life. And you just have to keep going, and everything's going to be okay. And just take it one step at a time. And then also my Instagram is Jazlynn Q. And you can follow me on all platforms at that.
She's an
New
amazing
music?
singer. Amazing singer.
Oh, and for 2025,
What are some of your goals?
I want to make more music, be more consistent on my social media, and focus on school.
Hallelujah. Well, for my first beautiful guest in our new journey at an Empowered You, we are going to travel the world. I want to do podcasts all over the world. I feel like there is so much that God has in store for both of us, for Jazlynn as well. Just this vessel of goodness that the world needs more of. So excited for where you're going, where we're both going. And to everyone listening, I always say this all the time, but it is always going to start and end with you. No one is coming to save you. You are the answer. You're literally the magic sauce to all the happiness that you're waiting for. Invest in yourself, time, money, and energy. Don't short yourself. Celebrate yourself. Honor yourself. The same way you honor and celebrate other people and other strangers and the world of social media. Feed your mind, body, and soul daily. And on those days when you don't feel like it, take a nap and try again the next day. But I promise you that if you continue to choose you over and over again, surround yourself with incredible women like I do, from Soleil to my beautiful daughter Jazlynn. There's just so many incredible people to have in your life around you that support the things that get you empowered. But it's you. It's you. It's always you. And cheers to an empowered you.
Let's go.
Let's
2025.
go. 2025.
An empowered you. Here is to an empowered you. An empowered you.
This is an Empowered You podcast.